Have my one of my birthday presents.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Jeff knows what I can.
We are now recording, and whenever you're ready, Chair, staff.
And- It's turned over to 1:30, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And maybe a roll call. Looks like everybody's present who's supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And is there public comment? The public may speak on any item not listed on the agenda today.
Madam Chair, no members of the public
Are
present?
there members of the public? And communications, has there been anything additional? Mike?
No additional communications.
Right? Take a look here. Let me get back to my,
This is how we have to do it.
oh, boy, you know what? I didn't charge mine.
It would
I
show.
think I'll make it. I might make it. Looks like
Kind
they're-
of close.
That, and you know, what, it's not gonna die yet. If I get close to it, I will
Okay.
go for it. Well, it looks like there are no minutes to approve, so let's move on to new business and item E1.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So this item under new business really is a continuation of the same item from the December 19th meeting, and we wanted to bring this back really just for just a brief overview in part for our new subcommittee member, welcome Vice Mayor Wheeler. Because there's been a few developments. What we included in the packet was the FAQs from the BAFA website. BAFA is, kind of part of and related to the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MPC, our regional planning agency, but BAFA, which stands for the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, is authority that was established to further the housing goals within the Bay Area, which includes, all the counties that are part of the Bay Area, so Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, Napa, Sonoma, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Solano, and Sonoma. Of course, we're the most northern city within that planning area. And the BAFA is, of course, working to formally put on the ballot in November a tax measure to fund affordable housing. And they're targeting what they call the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps is production of new affordable housing, preservation of existing affordable housing. And just to kind of touch on that real briefly, what we've seen, for example, in Cloverdale is there was previously approved affordable housing. Often it was constructed by Burbank. It's a nonprofit entity. There was protections put in place. But over time, those are exchanged and changed, and as part of that process, when they sell, those affordability restrictions sometimes get removed. And so to kind of keep them affordable, usually there's this balancing act between the person that originally bought it and their increase in equity. And of course, as a homeowner, they want to maximize their equity. But there's also this goal of maintaining affordability. So how do we do that? Usually the way that works is the city or an entity helps the new home buyer coming in with like a first-time home buyer's loan, so that you can target families that meet the income criteria. So it's through kind of a first-time home buyers program or a down payment assistance program is typically what you see. And my sense is that's an area where if BAFA makes it on the ballot, gets supported by the taxpayers, is an area where we may want to emphasize a local program is around just maintaining affordability. And we can even offer, for example, sometimes the issue for even market rate housing and targeted to modern income households is just that down payment. Folks can afford the monthly payment. It's just how do you come up with the 10% or the 20% down?
PMI.
And then you got PMI on top of that. So sometimes, with a preservation program, again, it could be a first-time home buyers program or down payment assistance to kind of get folks in the door and, then a little bit of, work with the agreement so that there's how do you do some kind of equity sharing going forward? Because everybody wants to, part of the goal, first time home or buying a home is sometimes to increase wealth, increase your equity, be able to maybe move into a different, larger home or.
But if you come up with like a program like that, for the down payment, is there an element to them paying that back also? Now, does that go into?
Yeah, exactly,
And we
exactly.
have had programs like that. The
Well,
city has had programs like that in the past.
Right, with redevelopment. So what we'll typically try to do is structure an agreement where the equity or the loan, the full amount is paid back. So let's say it's 100,000.
Gotcha.
That gets paid back with the sell, and then there's usually some structure for the equity. And so it can range from the seller gets 100% to there's some kind of equity share, 75-25 to kind of recognize, hey, we were in this together, so
Right.
we kind of get a little share of it.
They don't make payments during that time.
Right, I get that.
Yeah,
But if they get the equity, then that could turn around and keep snowballing, and then they're gonna eventually have enough for that initial down payment.
exactly.
So, yeah.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so but I kind of went down a rabbit hole on preservation a little bit.
Right.
But the third P is protection, and it was protection of low income residents and people at risk of homelessness. So that's where you have programs to help families who may have missed a rent payment. We obviously are talking about developing an ordinance for mobile home parks. There might be some mobile home park protections built in to help, again, low income residents. And it's kind of an area where there hasn't been a lot of effort. In fact, Reach for Home submitted a grant application to the county. They had a hearing last week to initiate a program for protecting residents that are at risk of losing housing. Because you could spend the investment required to keep somebody in their home was a lot less than once they've lost their home to try to get them back in. And obviously the social trauma that goes along with that, the disruption that occurs to the household can be significant. So that's another area where, again, if this passes, it would be an area we have to kind of look at what kind of programs do we want to have to offer, or what kind of programs do we want to offer to leverage some of these funds. So that will be a key aspect. But those are the three elements to this program. So they're looking at one of two measures, one either a 10 billion or 20 billion measure that would be over a 10-year period. The kind of the perspective that they're looking at is that it would normally require 2/3 vote or a supermajority. ACA 1, which is on the ballot, would set the threshold back to 55%, which would, they're doing the polling and there's some greater likelihood of passage at 55% than the supermajority. Assuming ACA 1 gets passed, and that'll also be a ballot decision. So the two entities that would receive funding in Sonoma County include the county as a whole. And with the 10 million GEO bond, they would get 282 million. With the 20 billion GEO bond, they'd get 564, so roughly double. Santa Rosa is, and Mike just put up a slide here. Santa Rosa is its own entity. And they would get pretty significant sum of 121 million or 242 million just as their own. And so I would imagine folks in Santa Rosa are slated to be pretty pretty supportive of this measure because they would get such a large sum of
Why
money.
doesn't Petaluma qualify for this? Are they're over 50,000 for the rec homelessness fund, or what's the?
It has to do with the arena numbers.
Oh, okay.
And that's the condition, I had the same question.
Oh, okay.
So they're an entitlement fee, but this is not HUD money. This
Right,
is
it's not
local
money,
money.
that's why, okay.
And this kind of a, to step back on that is that kind of one of the elements of this is that it would be tied directly to meeting our regional housing needs assessment or arena numbers. And we've done pretty good, actually. I say we, meaning, nonprofit entities in the city as a whole, in delivering affordable housing to kind of low income residents and very low. But an area where we're really missing is that missing middle.
Yeah.
And so, probably, again, if we were to develop a program, if we need to support funding, using funding if it gets approved, we'd probably be targeting that moderate income, which again ties, to me, it gets back to kind of looking at kind of more of a preservation program. So, you could partner with a market rate developer and maybe incentivize some of the housing to be put aside for, working families, sort of more workforce housing. So, I don't think the BAPA board has made a final decision on whether it's a 10 billion or 20 billion yet. But there is in the enabling legislation targets on those 3 Ps: production, preservation, and protection. The most of it would go towards production, but 20% of it would go to preservation and protection at a minimum. So more could be spent, and there's some flexibility. There's also a local grant incentive program that we want to look at, because there's definitely some staffing needs associated with the program, and that's an area for us we would want to look at, because we have limited staff here, and this will be a whole new reporting program and so forth. But with that, we are going to be working on bringing a presentation to council, really just giving an overview again of the measure. I think the MTC and the folks moving BAFA forward will be seeking support from the council. I anticipate that fully. They're likely to come forward late spring, early summer, as these kind of as the public campaign is more fully developed around this. But with that, I just kind of pause there. There's no immediate action required on this. It's just, again, an update. And I think staff's goal is just to make sure councils, as you start hearing about this, are aware of the measure, what it might mean for the city, and if it passes, where do we want to, from a policy perspective, address the funding that could be provided through the county to the city. And that remains to be seen how we think it would funnel to the Sonoma County Community Development Commission, and then ultimately provided to each respective city to implement, the 3 Ps basically. So I think existing affordable housing developers certainly would be looking at probably asking the city for some of that in terms of meeting their financial goals like they do through the tax credit program. That's in brief, that's just an overview. No action, and we're, if there's any questions, again, we will, or issues you want us to work out before we bring this to council for an overview and presentation by some of the staff that know more about this. There's an effort underway to develop an expenditure plan. So we may be seeking council direction again on how would you like to see funds, assuming it's approved, spent locally or provided to us and spent. So that will be something we'll be seeking feedback on in the future as this as all this work, it continues. I think technically the expenditure plan is due within 1 year under the ballot language. But I think there's a desire to try to get as much of that developed up front and see if there's community support buy-in for it. Again, the presentations in the packet, it's something that's worth just kind of, there's a lot to it, and I just would recommend digesting it a little bit, and we can keep it here on the subcommittee, or just go ahead and start tracking this at council level.
Any other questions or? Well, just a couple of comments. Unfortunately, received the presentation at Sonoma County Transportation Authority already, and even there was a lot of input from that board to the staff folks, and they seem to be very receptive to the input and comment and things like when someone suggested that preserving our mobile home parks, and that is an issue that has been coming up, that was noted, and we've heard that from other jurisdictions, which is always encouraging. They're actively listening to policymakers from different counties and different regions and getting similar input. The other piece was a lot of interest again in preserving the stock that we have, one of which is mobile home parks. And making sure that there is some kind of a mechanism to ensure that. And then one of the other comments from the board members was also basically, funding for people who are at risk of homelessness, because it is so much more economically efficient, and it's much more humane and caring to make sure that people don't become homeless and experience homelessness. And so that was one of the other pieces that was teased out by that board and was, I thought, received very, very well. And I think it's, I might have even been one of the people who brought it up initially, because that's what we see here in the North County, is that Reach for Home is doing a great job on all of these different fronts. But the one thing that they really lack is the ability to do really effective rental assistance and bridging those gaps between, and making sure people don't experience homelessness, or in the case like the mobile home park located outside of Cloverdale, there was an opportunity for some of those seniors to actually get into Kings Valley, because there were vacancies in Kings Valley, but there wasn't a task force that could be deployed immediately to get that information. To do a really good assessment, and it kind of once it got going, it was once the county got involved, the ball got rolling. It got effective, but that's something that should happen. There should be funding for a task force like that. That's just immediate, and I think that would be beneficial for us to advocate for. And in the city, because that's a need that I think is not just important in Cloverdale, to make sure that people can avoid experiencing homelessness if possible, but that's a need in the entire North County as well. So that would be something that would be effective for maybe Cloverdale, Healdsburg, and Windsor to advocate for together.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think there's avenues to do that, like through I know the vice mayor's on the homeless subcommittee.
Right.
And then we were part of the District 4
Right.
homeless, so
Do we have the data of people that are at risk in Cloverdale? You know what I mean? That would be the thing, I mean,
Right.
and then obviously if they're,
Well,
Do
what that really requires is people who are doing, who are in the community and doing outreach. And
Right.
that's what we're talking about, is making sure that service is funded through Reach for Home. I mean,
Right.
they do a really good job of like, who is out there, and they identify individuals who are currently homeless, and they're actively getting them into housing. But it's that next level of who are the people who are at risk, and that's just it's another level of program that there's not programmed right now.
right. Yeah, we talked about that at the
Yeah.
homeless subcommittee.
Yeah, and this would possibly be a way to fund that, so
Right.
that would be my feedback.
Okay.
yeah, maybe now.
And then-
go and find that, you know what I mean?
I think considering now that, it is February, and they're probably doing their polling or completing their polling. There are so many moving parts. I guess what I would want staff to do is monitor and like once I think once the ballot measure is locked, then bring it back to council. And once we know what it is, because we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, so
And there-
keep our eyes on it, monitor,
Yeah,
track it,
yeah.
and once.
Yeah.
We know if it's 10, well, once it's on the ballot, we know
Right.
whether it's 10 billion or 20 billion.
Exactly.
Any details to kind of get that presentation scheduled for
Yeah,
council.
I think that's the best way forward. I don't need to hear about, oh, well, here's the new change, and then here's the new change at the next subcommittee meeting. Does
Okay.
that work? Okay, great. Well, then, any other comments or questions on this? If not, we'll move on to E2, our Healthy Community Project. 'Cause
I think, Madam Chair,
I'm trying to rejoin the Healthy Community Project, so.
I think this was one that, you brought up that this might be an opportunity, well, this, part of this was in relationship, I think, to the Healthcare Foundation, Northern Sonoma County. I know their interest was establishing a community center. And to, seek opportunities for that. We haven't really engaged much with them since that discussion. Though one of the things that as a city initiative, which in my opinion kind of aligns with what they're proposing is our work to establish the Scouts Cabin as a community and parks center. And I think, we haven't done, our focus has been just on trying to bring the building up to code and make it ADA accessible. And kind of the good news on that is at the meeting last week, that Kevin representing Cloverdale on the CTAC, they're recommending funding in the amount of $250,000 to the Scouts Cabin for ADA improvements, so that to ensure that the building is legally compliant. But kind of the next step in my hope is we start looking at the programming for that. And I think through that, there's opportunities to engage with the community about how can the Scouts Cabin be used as a community asset? I know a lot of our nonprofits, of course, the Girl Scouts use it. But there's also other nonprofit organizations, the sports groups that could use storage. So there's opportunities to do some of that, but also to have a community space with a kitchen and a restroom that's available for meetings, group meetings, you name it. And it also could be, we're trying to look at this through the lens of being financially sustainable and kind of creating that business model with it so that it's also a rental. And it helps generate some income to help maintain it and all that.
I'm in low power mode, so I do need your battery, Kevin. I don't have. Oh, wait,
yeah, I'll be right
I do have it with me. I do have one of my words.
Don't have one on my
It
desk.
just does not have, I have my battery.
Yeah, I have a battery.
I got that plugged
On your
in,
desk, you said?
in my office and I didn't. It was probably just, it's been sitting there for 2 days.
So that's kind of an adjunct discussion about the community health project, but
Yeah.
with that being, largely sponsored by La Familia Sana, but how as a city do we kind of further the same thought about creating a community space?
Right, I mean, who all would be renting that?
Well, there are lots of.
I mean,
people
I know there is, but I mean, I guess the concern is, at least my concern is I know that the Girl Scouts have used it for years. But both Hector and myself know that then that becomes city staff doing the cleanup on that. So where's gonna be the accountability of, hey, you rented this, leave it as you found it,
Right.
because then it turns into another 2 days to get it ready for the next guy to trash it.
Oh,
That's
what
a
I
big
bring
concern.
for.
And, and I know there is agreements out there, but in turn.
Yeah.
Make sure we check them at the door,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean, because that's a lot of money, and that has the potential to be a really cool little spot.
Yeah.
And just,
You know what I mean,
oh, I think that's a great
Oh,
one.
that's
you know, we know from experience,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a great spot, it'd be a perfect thing, and I'm all for everybody renting that thing. It's long as, you know.
Yeah, we'll definitely, we'll definitely have to have those,
Yeah.
those agreements. And some of our, similar, our cities that
It's
have,
called property management.
it's, you know, we're a member of CIRA, so, you know, risk will, then kind of make sure we have agreements in place, with the requisite insurance requirements and deposit and all that.
The scope of our grant was windows in the kitchen and bathroom and the ramp, so we're gonna get a decent amount out of that.
And just since we're on the subject, Cavallo Construction, I just checked in with him before the meeting. He has been helping us, he has a contract with us, he's helping us with the flooding mitigation, the flooding issues that we had, not from this storm, but from last year's
Yeah.
storm system. So he changed the carpet on the little craft room. They changed the carpet, they redid the walls, they redid the sheetrock. They put some new insulation in there, we got some new LED lighting in there now. So it's already started. It's a general fund money. And we're hoping that we've been with through a lot of meetings with FEMA. And it sounds pretty promising. It sounds like FEMA's gonna be able to refund us back.
Maybe we should, if you're okay with it, put Scouts Cabin as
As
a
a
standing
standing
item.
I think so.
Maybe move.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
get rid of the healthy,
And
or slash healthy communities or something.
Well, I think I'd like to move healthy communities to standing items as a separate item, because they are related to one another, but they're not directly. So I think that a lot's going to come out of the ECO group that Healdsburg Foundation study is also funding. That's going to be a year-long study, and it's gonna ultimately a partnership, you know, with the city.
Yeah.
So I think that would be more appropriate and.
So just to finish the Scouts Cabin,
Sure.
the CTAC recommended it to the Board of Supervisors, so typically they don't change that, so.
Yeah.
Right. But it still won't get on the Board of Supervisors agenda for a few months.
Yeah.
And then we have to do environmental, there's a lot of stuff, it's very, you know, you have to get a bid and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Good
we'll-
for its thing.
We'll be planning accordingly, since this really, the CDBG funding is for next fiscal year, so we'll, through the budget process, we'll be identifying that CDBG project, putting that in the budget as a project, along with, you know, are there other city dollars that we can identify to, you know, do other things we want to do for that.
I do want to make sure that we do keep the link between those two projects, because it really is a response to the research project that was done in
Right.
Cloverdale, reflecting the fact that the community came back with a very strong preference for community center type activities. And this is I look at it as, it's a good start. It's what we can do now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's what you know, our hard Scrabble acquisition license agreement was smart for the dog park. This is what we can do now.
Right.
If an opportunity comes up, this is what we can do now, because you know, that's just the position that we're in. And so, but I want to keep it, that's why I want to, you know, keep it maybe as a separate item, but related to each other. Because then it is in answer to that community request, and then there's additional data that they returned, and it's going to be an ongoing process with that eco group. And don't ask me what it stands for, because I haven't had a chance to dive into that since I've been sick. So, so anything else on E2? Which is kind of related to E3 a little bit. It's kind of the idea.
Yeah, so, Madam Chair, you want to move forward?
Yeah, move forward to E3, kids to Parks Day. May
Okay,
15th.
so, the National, every year, they, kind of do the marketing for, Kids to Park Day and promoting, you know, kids, being able to get out and enjoy the park, and as part of that, there's usually, you know, promoting an event or an outdoor play activity, again, just to connect kids to, you know, your local parks, and sometimes that could be state parks, public lands. could
Well, it's
be-
like, because they provide all of the social media material, the graphics,
Right.
kind of the event that you can build it around. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. With what they've provided, you know, and then you can just promote it on your social media and make your own posters and make your own event around it, because we certainly don't have, you know, we're not going to have to on the 18th, so.
Right, so it's, you know, it's not too far off, what are we, about 3 months away, and we know there's already, we talked about it at council last week, the work, with the funding request we're gonna submit to Sonoma County for, Soda Ranch Springs or Soda Springs Ranch.
Figure out.
And Lighter Ranch, so this.
Yeah.
Is, is there an opportunity to maybe do a guided tour or a walk? Maybe we could partner with the schools to see if there's kids that want to get up and, I don't think we need to do a deep exploration exercise at the park, but, maybe, Hector can lead up.
So that's why I have a little segment here. So one of the ideas that Kevin and I discussed this morning, one of the ideas, see what you guys think, was to do a guided tour by, guided by the city arborist. Myself, which is myself.
Which is you.
So one of the things I was doing is create a little pamphlet or a little form or a little exercise, like, and for that day, we can do a tree identification exercise. So where the kids get a pamphlet and, at the beginning there at the trail, we'll meet at the trailhead for about an hour and we'll do that first loop. And then everybody, hey, okay, this, as we walking, let's see if we can identify this tree and this tree. And then at the end of the tour, they can get some kind of city swag.
Oh, that'd be.
And that'll be, because we do have some city swag left over. We got some left over from the.
And I would encourage you to, it's like, check in with Land Path, see if they already have materials made, check in with like, Pepperwood Preserve and just, and see what they already have. The Sonoma Water also has that whole education wing that they do, where they go into the classrooms and they teach, water conservation, and then they also teach, energy, and they contract with both Russian River Watershed Association and with Sonoma Clean Power to go into classrooms, and so they may already have materials that you can just happily steal.
Yeah, I think, we can, during that time, the weather's gonna be nice, so it's something short, but at the same time, make it productive and make it, educational.
Right.
Well, and I think the social media aspect is good because just in my neighborhood right now, I have a couple folks that have they're 24 months, 2-year-olds. I always see her down at the park, talk to her all the time, and I said, hey, have you ever been over to City Park? Where's that?
Yeah.
You've lived here a year and a half.
Yeah.
And to me, it's mind blowing, but so they gear in on their local park in their neighborhood, and I'm like, there's parks all over the place, so. The social media, and she jumps on social media and all that, so that'd be a good one to get that
I
out
think
there
that's
too.
why they
There's a lot
invented
of
Kids
folks.
to Parks Day.
Exactly.
One nice thing about this.
Exactly.
One nice thing about, so we have everything.
Right,
We have staff, we have for that day, we have the swag, we have the
exactly.
pamphlets, I have those when
You
I
got
originally took the test.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. Took the test.
From scratch, I like stealing it, but if you got it, then it works great, yeah.
And it's for us, if we don't do something before then, it'd be kind of a trial run of a guided tour of the property, because I know there's other folks that want to get up there and, we don't want to say it's completely open.
Cut 'em loose, just,
Until we get some of the basic infrastructure in there, so.
But if we could reach out to Land Pass, that's exactly the thing that they do, is they put together, events like that, and then we, they get the key to gate, or they, get permission that they're supposed to be.
And
they're
better if we
there.
can figure out something else to do it for us.
Exactly, and they're anxious to do it.
Right.
That's exactly why they exist, so. Yeah, get to know those guys.
They don't do bilingual materials.
I
too,
think
isn't
that
there?
they do bilingual outreach, and one of the things that they do is outreach to Spanish-speaking families, so that they have a day, so they could organize a hike that is just geared toward Spanish-speaking families.
Right, and that's the reason why I was volunteering, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to learn how the tree identification names in Spanish before that.
I think Latin is Latin.
Oh, who's to say?
Yeah.
So Hector, we, on the Kids to Parks Day webpage, they have an event registration.
Yeah.
All of that.
So if you want to go ahead and,
Sure, just wondering about that.
Kevin,
And do
set
they
that
have
up.
swag as well, like if you register or?
It says they have resources, so I don't know,
Yeah.
Maybe I could put it on the table whenever we
You might wanna check that out, and if they register for the national day, they might be eligible for one of those. That'd be fun,
it says they have Kids to Parks Day t-shirts.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
But, we may be able to, with the Russian River Watershed Association or one of those, maybe get the.
More t-shirts?
Get the. Cause when does Parks River cleanup day, like there is later in May?
It's May too.
Okay,
Yeah, it might be, I
so
can reach out to
figure out what day it is.
Perkins.
I mean, it might be Birkin, yeah. I wonder if it's the same day. With the check.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
Let me check, oh, we'll check.
Yeah, cause then it'll be double booked.
Oh, yeah, I gotta be at the river too. All right, see you guys, you gotta catch on the river.
All those trees work out.
So that, is that kids park, that's kids to parks day? Okay, great. I guess we'll move on to standing items and community development one.
Yeah, not much to report. I know Rafael's been talking to a gentleman who's looking to do a small subdivision above the Oxty Road Apartments. Be a 4-lot subdivision, but he has not applied, but he seems pretty serious.
Okay.
We're
Is
continuing
that
on.
from Lake Street there?
Yeah, Augusta Lake Street, Mr. Richard St. Angelo. Maybe he'll get some improvements on the road because of that. Possible. Yeah. 101 North is working. I don't know, sometimes get the old gas station next to Papa's, you'll see that one going.
What's that supposed to open? Do we have we
Well, it
heard?
was supposed to open about a year ago.
Oh, well, gotcha.
So, right, let's schedule.
I'm crossing my fingers for.
First Friday Night Live?
Yeah.
Yeah, looking nice,
That'd be cool.
It looks beautiful, yeah.
It's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
And then we just got our projects that are still moving forward, Baumgartner's moving pretty well, and, the tribal project is also really kicking it in the high
Yeah.
gears. They need to be done by the end of the year and occupied for their tax credit financing.
Oh, wow, okay.
The Austin Road Apartments, I don't know if you guys know this, but they did receive their tax credit allocation and they're feverishly trying to get a building permit. One of the stipulations in California for the tax credit is 180 days from when they get awarded to having a building permit.
Are they gonna swing it?
Well, they're trying, and these are super complicated building permits, and these aren't just like,
Yeah.
remodel for your house. So, we had a big meeting here with all of the engineers, the building staff and everyone and try to lay out a plan that's seemingly going.
And I just wanna say that from the city's perspective, I tried to make it clear that the responsibilities for the timeline, doesn't all fall on the city.
Right.
It's a shared responsibility and their team is obligated to, prepare good plans, and address and handle, plan check comments, timely. Because we can't have last minute submittals and meet that timeline. And it's already very tight and restrictive as it is. So I just tried to, we'll do our best and be professional and return, back professional, plan check comments, which, a lot of that will be done with Coastland's support and West Yost's support. But likewise, they have to perform, and their team has to, and they got the message and they indicated that was their plan. So anyways, I just want to make sure that, I conveyed that, to them that, it's a two-way street and,
We start getting close to June, and
Yeah.
there's no permit, maybe lots of phone calls and angry people. We've been through that on the Baumgartner. We
Yeah.
made it work.
Yeah.
And this contractor actually has done a lot of tax credit in California, so he understands the timelines. So hopefully good. And then probably the last thing on the community development log is we're having a planning commission meeting on, I think it's March 7th. To start initiating some of these zoning changes that we're required to do because of the housing element. They'll ultimately be onto the council once we get through the planning commission. So nothing super earth shattering, but they did.
March 5th.
March 5th.
Yeah.
They did give us a pretty tight timeline that we'll probably miss by a couple months, but it was really cities that were required to rezone, that's where they really were clamping down. Ours is just text amendments, like we're adding a definition of family, just about 5 or 6 things that we said we would do in our housing element, and so it'll all be before the council probably April.
A quick question down there, you know that where, was it Gallagher that was trying to put in down by the saw shop down there by Bear Republic? And then I noticed there was, some equipment on there, they put the blocks around there, there's precision engineering signs, so are they doing something with that lot or?
Well, in response to our letter, the developers who were seeking a builder's remedy pulled out.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
discontinued, but, our understanding is that the owners of Precision bought the property.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
What we've heard, just by way of a simple email communication was that they were interested in developing it for, an industrial park. Which is in accordance with the zoning, and so it's actually a kind of a by right use, it just depends on, the nature of what they bring forward, if it requires like
Design
plan
review.
convention, so it'll be design review. It seems like, I think they're kind of targeting kind of a roll-up door type of small
Shop.
kind of light
Like
industrial.
rental space, just like, Royce.
Razor,
Gotcha.
smaller scale.
Yeah,
I think it's,
Good.
I had to double check with Darren, but I think there's a big water main going through.
There is. Yeah, we ultimately, if they submit, they'll have to make sure to
Yeah.
avoid those utilities.
It's like,
I remember doing a leak repair there, that's why.
yeah, so it's a little complicated down there, unfortunately.
The next door property, I think we understand, the former Bear Republic space is, in escrow. And that whole area was, an area where the city had what was referred to as a, owner participation agreement, or OPA, because the city funded some of the initial infrastructure down there, the water, sewers, and street improvements, and so we've confirmed that the note that was associated with that work is fully paid off. But the agreement is that anything that gets constructed shall be in accordance with the general plan and zoning maintains, it's still there, so that's what helped us with the builder's remedy project. But likewise, anything going forward will have to be consistent, and I think the new developer or the new buyer, assuming it goes through, would utilize those formerly were commercial condominiums. So I don't know, what the plan is, or
Well, yeah, I had a few calls with him, and seems like he knows what he's doing, owns a lot of properties similar to that, and he just kind of said, hey, if you hear of any good tenants, let me know, so I don't think he has anything lined up yet, but anyways.
commercial, you mean like small
Oh, there's
businesses in there?
such a huge
There's-
demand for that.
Gotcha.
So those are all commercial
Right.
I
condos.
mean, the smaller the better, because people are just looking to, just get a business off the ground and expand, I mean, and Razor is just always at capacity, so.
Yeah, this is a large, this.
Yeah.
Tenants there that are in, or, interest, so.
Oh, yeah.
Seemed like
I think it's,
seemed like a home run.
Big time,
okay, anything else on the development log?
I think that's it.
We can move on to F2, annexations.
Okay, so, 6 acres and South Cloverdale Water Company are, the two areas that, are subject to future annexation and absorption by the city. 6 acres, the effort has been funded thus far by the state of California to install and upgrade the water infrastructure that to serve that area. The state hired GHD to pretty well-respected engineering firm. They did the feasibility study to do the design drawings. They've completed 60% design level drawings for the work. There was some back and forth with the state in regards to some of the things we were asking for. We wanted the system to be looped and That includes, improving the main that crosses the creek. And they were concerned it was, growth inducing and that we made the argument that it was necessary under our master plan to have that upgraded and improved. Likewise, and this was a great point made by our senior water operator, was that the water main in that area is on the west side of the boulevard. In order to serve those individual homes, I think there was 8 laterals that would need to be constructed across the boulevard. So with the recommendation of our water operator and our city engineer, they came up with the concept of putting in a parallel main on the east side. And we kind of made the argument that, until you do the analysis, it probably is cheaper. The state didn't initially see it that way. But as of last week, they came back and said, we agree. So that took about 2 months to get them to agree to that. But I think after kind of looking at it, logically and from the perspective that it was something we desired, but it was based in, kind of good
engineering.
And when if they go through the boulevard 8 times, they're gonna encounter a lot of challenges.
More opportunities. More opportunities for error.
Right. So those were a couple of issues we were working on resolving.
Were they gonna put like there too, the loop, if they put a parallel there, put a hydrant there too? So you
Yeah.
could flush that,
This
is dead ending it.
That's a great point, Vice Mayor. What we've asked them to do, because part of this discussion, right, it's been kind of an internal process where they've been sending things via email. We said, put it on the portal. We're gonna get the fire district involved because they're gonna have to be their input is gonna be critical to making sure that the hydrant spacing it meets their standards and the fire flows, that they review the fire flow data. So, it has been such a slow ongoing process. We hadn't quite, brought them in, but now they're gonna be an integral part of the plan development process going forward. So these are all things, I think we're in there doing our best to represent the city, be strong. It's real challenging when you're on the phone with, on these calls with 12 state representatives. And they introduce us last after they've introduced everybody else. You could tell, we had
People
to,
who have to live with it.
yeah, right. And so,
And we also have local experience, they can tell those 12 guys, guess what, this is gonna work and that's not.
exactly. I mean, the last call, they said, well, maybe we need to come up and see it. And I said, yes.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
need to come and see it firsthand. And then I kept referring to it as Highway 1. And I was like, no, it's not.
Oh,
So that's the kind of
30 years ago.
challenges that we have.
Right.
But so that's the water piece. Concurrently, there's a water funded application for the South Cloverdale, and that's in process. There's a key difference though between these two is on 6 acres, they've assigned an engineer that's paid for through the state to kind of oversee the process and work with the property owners. They have not done that with South Cloverdale.
No.
And
We want us
we've
to,
made the case a number of times that this is what this is what we need, because we need that, we need the help, and given our small staff, our small budget. And they've all but said it's impossible, basically. So they want us to be the lead on the ultimate funding or construction agreement to support the construction of the improvements. And, I think looking through their lens, they're looking for, they want a reputable entity to work with that is gonna sign all the grants in the funding application, funding agreements versus, a group of volunteers basically that are the board members for the Cloverdale, the South Cloverdale Water Company. So we've been slowly working through those issues. We are ready to bring the 6 acres annotation agreement forward. There was some mapping work that we were getting GHD to do. They had to go through a process of getting funding to do that as well, but if not this meeting, the next council meeting, but the following meeting, we'll have the annotation.
Yeah.
Probably,
I've been working on this.
probably the March 14th agreement.
Okay.
Council has already adopted a pre-annexation agreement, so it's just some tweaks to some adjustments to reflect, some of what we've learned since we entered into that agreement. South Cloverdale, we are there's still a lot more work to do, and it's a little more complicated too because of parts of the area that's served by South Cloverdale. Some of that's in the city. So, like the church, some of the properties along Treadway, and IROC, well, IROC's not in the city, but, there's kind of this different pattern there.
Patchwork.
In and out, and even the state's kind of confused by that, because, why aren't they served already? Well, it's historically, they never were required to disconnect from South Cloverdale and connect to the city, so that's a process that we're trying to work out. But 6 acres is gonna move forward, we'll probably be bringing it to council, and then filing fairly quickly, that'll go to LAFCO, and then South Cloverdale will just continue to make progress on, and ultimately this discussion about whether, council supports us being the applicant for the wastewater application.
They did say we'll get reimbursed, but they've been saying that for 4 years now.
Right.
And there's only a certain number of dollars that can go to each hookup, which includes impact fees, construction, all of that. And that's it. So it's not a super high number.
Yeah.
So it just seems like there may not be nothing left at the end of the day.
But we're still not going to be given a choice by the state, so. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think they say, well, there's this other provision that if it's not like Kevin was saying, it's a set amount per connection. I think combined water and sewer, I think it's 80,000.
It starts at 60, but with the director's approval, they'll go to 80.
Oh.
It was something like, or the.
Yeah, but then they said, but then we can cap it, the entire project at 4 million.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, well, I said, well, then we're in the 4 million category.
Right. There are enough of us to, yeah.
So we have these calls, and they're monthly standing calls, and we're literally it's on Zoom, and your screen is filled with representatives from the state, and so you even get a lot of different opinions and thoughts, and so we've been working through those slowly. We've been tracking Vanessa's time, and we're gonna see, full reimbursement for all
And it's in Vanessa for
Yeah.
sure.
Let's keep doing your deep breathing. Okay, that's both items under F2. Do you have an update on F3?
Yeah, because I've been working with Dave Anderson, who's a property owner up
Yeah.
just north. And he's really taking the initiative on getting all the property owners. They've had separate phone calls. And really where we are right now is we gotta get some money. Because we're out staff time money for this, and so we've kind of broken it into what's the cost to get the ballot initiative on there. And then after that, there's gonna be additional costs, so. It seems like we have kind of a coalition of the willing of these a lot of property owners up there. We're gonna need to divide that up somehow. We have a figure in mind of what it's gonna cost to get on the ballot, not really that much, so you divide that up and. So he's been working with them. We have a call this Friday I'll participate in, and so my goal would be to. In March, hopefully get back to council a new map of where this line will go and potentially ballot language that Alex said he could provide about moving this UGB. Again, once we move the UGB, then we still have to go to LAFCO, it's a mountain of paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
And this is just the first step, but I mean, to my surprise, Dave Anderson's been really taking a good lead, directing all the property owners up there.
It was his idea.
Yeah, and I know he's motivated, I guess, I know he's motivated,
Yeah.
and he's a smart guy, and he's retired, so
Yeah, he's got time.
Yeah, and just to give reference, we're really talking about the area. On the west side, the city boundaries between Porterfield Creek and Soda Ranch Springs, just north of that. The Anderson Ranch is one property over.
I think you go up, Jack, you go up Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Angela.
yeah, well, I think it might have been before your time, David, we had a tour of the property with Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry, I remember you.
Oh,
went
were
with
you
Hec-
there?
Yeah, you went with Hector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We drove our truck over
That was an
there.
adventure,
Yeah, it was.
yeah, that's right, okay.
But like Kevin said, the focus is just right now is on a potential ballot measure to modify the urban growth boundary. And then, I think assuming that if we got enough support and that passes, then each of the property owners would kind of be required to pay for their own costs for their whatever entitlements they seek, rather than a collaborative cost approach, because it's really too difficult for staff to try to tell everybody.
You're right.
Here's what you're gonna
That's gonna go over.
Yeah, they start looking at, well, who else can pay for
Yeah.
this?
Exactly.
Well, if even the UGB, someone has to do the sphere, if someone doesn't do the sphere of influence, then they
Right.
still can't annex, and that's, the county, so. Again, there's a ton of work to do and
stuff.
One step. at a
Stock
time.
put
We're trying to
Right, Alex, yours.
Okay, it'll be yours. Okay, great, let's move on to housing element, or can we take that off yet?
Yeah, we can. I mean,
Okay.
I kind of gave you an update. We're changing zoning to conform with the housing element, but
And that's going to March fifth.
March fifth.
If that gets wrapped up, let's take it off of the, let's take it
We're
off.
gonna
the
be
agenda.
implementing this housing element for 5 years, so if you want to take it, I mean, that's.
Let's just take it off,
Okay.
yeah, because it's all the. It's done as far as where this committee is concerned. Update on design standards, you kind of touched on that.
Right, and part of this, what we're taking to the planning commission is amendments to this, to some of the design standards to get us closer to this objective design standards. We still don't have a new document, but what we're doing here is eliminating some more of the things in there that were not objective
Yeah,
to kind of,
but it's not gonna come back here, right?
no.
Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that then. And then update on countywide flood master plan. But on a day like this week, is usually when we talk about droughts.
So I'm going to the,
Yeah, don't go to the.
It's full. It's
It's
full.
Usually, like, we're talking about the flood plan when it's like 105 degrees
Right.
outside, and we're talking about, drought when it's like this, so. This is strangely, apropos.
Right, well, this is a planning effort that's been led up by Sonoma Water. They're doing more of a regional, as they call it, countywide flood master plan. Our kind of interest is addressing the significant amount of gravel and sedimentation in our portion of the river, and making sure that they're aware that, at least on a local level, that creates flooding impacts,
From Sulphur Creek.
Right, big Sulphur
Yeah.
Creek. The most recent meeting was held on January 2nd. At the Sonoma Water the staff location down by the airport. We had a representative from West Yosa 10, and just really, it was just a kind of a data update, and I haven't seen any further updates at this time on how they're compiling all the data and what the plans. Well, I think their next step is to kind of develop a draft plan. And again, I think my hope is they identify, what our concern is here at Cloverdale, and and I know it's downstream of here, in an unincorporated area, it's also a similar issue. In Geyserville, and, address that into a plan to, reduce flooding throughout the entire Russian River watershed area, but we haven't seen anything yet, and we'll just keep monitoring this and be bringing it forward. I'm sure it's gonna come with a set of recommendations, and it could include, usually sometimes you see with this, these types of planning efforts is some kind of funding request, so it has not been discussed yet, but I would suspect we'll see some kind of county, there'll be some sort of budget that will come along with a request that each of the participating cities and entities contribute to that, or that there's some kind of grant funds we participate in, but we'll again just continue to monitor.
Great, thank you. And update on SB 852, item F7. I don't think there's any new information anywhere. I keep asking it, and they're like, I don't know yet.
Waiting for that first city.
Waiting for that. First brave person, okay, just go ahead and leave it up there, because that's, as soon as something does shake out, it's probably gonna be something that we're gonna want to look at. So transportation update on ride program, I don't have anything on, do you guys have anything new?
Well, just, I think it's directly related, and it just, because I think it ties into really kind of F8 and to extent F9.
Yeah.
The federal
Sure.
Department of Transportation released a grant application for what's referred to as the RAISE grant. And the city has partnered with or collaborated with both Sonoma County Department of Infrastructure and SMART on a grant application. We're calling it Connecting Cloverdale to the Bay, Equitable Transportation Access and Resilience Projects. And it's kind of reflecting the fact that our members of our senior community, members of our community don't have great transportation access to either the Bay Area or even Santa Rosa. And the county's primary interest in this RAISE grant is to get funding for a permanent bridge over Russian River Ospey. But we're talking about how do we connect all these regional transportation pieces in Cloverdale in a way that will qualify us for this federal funding. So the county applied, work was not successful, and so they sought this collaboration. So they brought in SMART and us. Our interest is to do more street improvements around Ospey Road, around the connection to the Cloverdale River Park, connection to the trail, the new bridge across the Crocker Bridge Trail, and then connecting to the Great Redwood Trail, and doing this all in a way that is planned kind of cohesively. SMART wants to come, so what does that look like? And so bringing all these pieces together with a planning grant of $1 million is kind of what we're looking at. But the total grant application request is $13.5 million. So we're hoping we'll get a lot of support and we'll be competitive, because these are tough grants to obtain. You're competing on a nationwide level. But luckily, Sonoma County Department of Infrastructure has agreed to be the primary grant application submitter, and will monitor and oversee it. So that will take, if awarded, it'll take a lot of work off of our plate, though we'll have to report up to them. So kind of exciting. We're trying this route to do a lot of a lot of different things, but hopefully it's viewed competitively by the DOT staff. So. we'll see.
Well, that was actually great news, finding out that the three projects were kind of working together, dovetailing in the effort instead of trying to compete against each other, and then that way
We would have gotten.
nobody would have gotten it. But I think it, when you actually look at it as the three applicants really working together to improve transportation as a whole in North County, it has a lot more potential, so.
Right, the Sonoma County Public Infrastructure, they oversee Sonoma County Transit. So, with that, they've identified comprehensive bus transit access improvements. So that could help fund,
Yeah.
More, it delves in the detail, but, fund more, transportation, whether that means buses or like, getting the smart train, more elements completed to provide access to our local population.
Kind of reduce those headways, that's what it's all about. So,
And there's freight rail in there, there's a lot that's put into this, this grant application.
great job, we're anxious to get an update.
For F9, I think we're talking about both.
I think so too, yeah.
FCTA and Farron Piers came up and we met with David and I and Derek and discussed transportation needs for this active transportation plan. We showed them a bunch of trails we'd like to have identified in there. Then they did do an outreach at the farmers market as part of what they're obligated to do as this active transportation. This active transportation plan is like a trails plan and all of it. We had a presentation at the council. So right now they're working on what they're calling a sidewalks gap analysis. So they're,
Oh, we've got plenty of those.
Yeah. So I was excited to see that.
they're doing like a sort of an aerial view from the computer
Did you send
first.
them down to my street?
And then they're gonna come up with find stuff.
I got a question, and this kind of transportation, Melly, you know this, last weekend I saw folks riding the cars.
Rail cars, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know, they were all in safety vests, so I thought, I'm not sure who that is, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
were cruising right along, so I didn't know. A lot of
Yeah.
people were asking, how do I do that?
Right.
I wanted to tell you,
That's a great question. I gotta answer.
I was so sick, I didn't get to go out there and I didn't get to visit them at the.
They were cruising right along.
They had,
They actually put out a really nice.
No.
Yeah.
So,
But they had a video on social media where they showed them kind of introducing us and saying that they were gonna be at the Citrus Fair, and then I didn't get to follow up.
they had a booth and they had one of their rail cars
Yeah.
there. And so I spoke with Tim Doolin, he was one of the members of the project team that came up and did the initial presentation. And I asked him for two things. One was, can we schedule a presentation to council, do just an update,
Yeah.
be real brief. So I'm gonna be working on that, and I mentioned the two next council meetings is either the 28th or the 13th of March. So one of those 2 days, hopefully. He said it shouldn't be a problem. We can, we're not accepting comments via public Zoom, but we can Zoom them in if they can't make it, but their intent would be to be here. They shared they've been working on the rail corridor, doing a ton of vegetation management, so they've been.
Yep.
And I was gonna ask you, Edgar, if you see him up in the river park, because he said they showed pictures of
I saw,
removing a lot of the overgrown blackberry thickets, and
yeah.
you could tell it was pretty heavy duty work.
Yeah.
They were doing the broom, right before the cemetery there, they did a lot of that French broom out there.
Okay,
I saw that, that's as far as I saw him go up,
got
and then
it.
I saw him, doing some veg management right across from the Ocos there, the lumber mill.
Okay. And so they will come and do a presentation, and then, I asked about possibly, a little, trail, rail bike excursion, and they said, because each of the bikes are designed to accommodate 4.
They
They said that
Yeah.
we could arrange a date and time to do an excursion. And so I said I would love to coordinate with them on getting council out to, the goal would be like, he said it takes about 45 minutes pedaling from the train station to get to the tunnel and 45 minutes back. So that's a pretty good.
One hit around that.
Right.
No, is there an e-bike version?
Oh, this is electric.
Those, they don't have electricity yet, they're
The
all,
ones in four.
I asked him, yeah, I said, can people cheat, and he goes,
On the really long,
You
really
work
long
right.
trails, yeah, the really long trails, you have to, unless if somebody's like, you know, a competitive
You
cyclist.
physically
Yeah.
pick them up and turn around, is that?
yeah, I guess they have a.
There's a turnstile,
Oh.
yeah.
So I'm gonna work on that, and I'll just try to, I'll poll council who wants to go, what dates, and, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
We could, maybe we could keep three council members apart from one another, I don't know if three
I'm
want.
not riding the car.
Make sure we turn around at the time.
Exactly, right, yeah, that's as far as it would go.
waters up
So they're making progress.
That's great.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Awesome.
Well, I mean, they need to be like, you know, they need to be on the trail plan so that it's a destination.
Yeah.
People are using it so that they gotta be on the map.
Well, I
That's
mentioned
great.
that, I think, we would wanna identify, he said where they kind of land on the north, by the tunnel, he said there's a trail that goes down.
Yeah, there is. Well, it's, we used it at one time. It wasn't really a trail. We actually created that
Okay.
when we cleaned the tunnel one day, a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We took some equipment in there, to get some, all that garbage out of it.
Just some easier access.
Yeah, it was so bad right there. So that's what.
I mean,
that
a
trail
couple
was.
things come to mind, one is, anytime you have this kind of activity, you wanna be able to have quick emergency
Yeah.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If, an unfortunate incident, but, of course, they are interested in maybe having a lunch excursion, so. Thinking about what does it look like if there's a picnic spot, and I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
That if it's amenable to that.
well, Al has been doing such a great job there with Smithberry. There's some picnic, there's some benches there, it's a really nice sitting area, that little retaining
Well,
wall.
if they went through the tunnel. I know it's sketchy in there, but.
It would be,
Yeah, people are like.
Yeah.
"Yo, tunnel." Well, tunnel.
Yeah.
They
It's
do.
not exactly a Disneyland tunnel. just-
No.
Pepper spray, you go do that.
LED lights.
Yeah, well, the lights in there, take it all.
No, more to come.
Yeah.
More to
more to
come.
come.
Anything else on recreation?
Well, F10, just real quick is, we're doing another survey. Mike's been working on it and we had a meeting to gauge what kind of activities the community wants. Jujitsu, basketball, whatever. So we've come up with some good questions. And, this is,
And good data on that in the community survey that was done, was there any?
well, we can extrapolate by what people requested in terms of like physical or infrastructure improvements, but we're trying to get this together so we can, start our modest recreation.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mike, if you want to say something,
You want
Mike,
to
go
add
ahead.
something, Mike?
Oh, no, I was just gonna reiterate what Kevin's saying. It's really just a chance for us. The Furber Park survey that we put out was really focused in that general area. Where this one, we want to push really hard with the schools, the senior center, various other entities in the community to try to really capture everybody, because we want recreation to, be from like children, kinder gym type classes if possible, all the way to senior activities and incorporate that with the senior center and whatnot. So, though we have a pretty good idea of what the community wants, the goal of the survey is to really help us focus what we can do now in the next few years, especially with the limited budget we have for it. So we're trying to figure out, basically how to focus our time and efforts at first so that they can start to snowball into a larger department. Hopefully one day where we have, kind of looking at what Windsor has or something as far as what we looked at their program guide, and obviously we'd love to be able to offer all of those programs, but at first we want to kind of have realistic expectations of what we can do and what the community really wants. We don't want to look for programs and instructors for something that maybe that's not what they're quite looking for at this time. But it's also gonna have some other general questions as far as, age groups and what they're interested in. And so hopefully we'll have that completed and it'll run for a few months so that we can start to offer things. One of the questions on there is also going to be looking for instructors. If you're interested in a topic or you're a subject matter expert in some way, whether it's Tai Chi or I don't know, any of those things that we want to be able to be like, hey, if you're interested, contact here, give us your information, you know, we can kind of walk through the steps of how to become an instructor, because really that's what recreation is based on. We need folks to teach the classes. So yeah, it'll hopefully give us a lot of information to help us proceed in a direction that we're already on, but just give us a little more focus. Look.
That's a great way to find teachers too. Yeah,
It is.
that's cool.
Yeah, just to touch up on that, I mean, we did brought to council, you guys, the commemorative bench tree program, which, it's been a success. We've got, since then, 4 weeks or 3 weeks ago, we've gotten two residents that are, interested on purchasing some of these benches here at the plaza.
Oh, that's great.
And that's gonna be a good way for us to recoup some of those funds. I'm working with them right now, it just started, just email them back.
And then buy new, but be able to use.
Exactly.
Have a
What's the
fun.
price per bench?
It's roughly like 1,800.
They come with a plaque?
It comes with a plaque, yeah.
Is a
And
plaque extra?
So, yeah.
Oh, man.
It's all together, I think I did it for council member, I'm working with council member Walter. I think all together ends up being about 19. And that's including the plaque, and we'll install it.
Right.
And we'll do the maintenance to it. That's one of the reasons why we purchased those benches, plaque ready. To see if we try to recoup some of those funds. So that's going, and that's very successful. And just to touch on the survey that we did, River Park survey, since that last survey, that short presentation that we did, city council, just on my notes here on the results of the short-term survey, small to term investments that from our current budget. Ever since then, I have ordered this is some stuff that was approved that day, the doggy station for City Park, for River Park. So we've ordered that, that's scheduled to be installed. We've also ordered the 2 sets of cornhole boxes, bean toss, whatever we call it. So we got those, we ordered those, we have some recycled garbage receptacles in the yard that we're gonna be able to use there. And we've also ordered the park kiosk. I actually just ordered that Friday. And then we've also gotten we also got a quote from Joe Duran to strike the existing parking lot at Riverwalk. So these are the short-term investments that were approved there since the city council meeting. Going forward.
Hey Hector, do people use the cornhole?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God,
Exactly.
constantly.
Yeah, so I gotta buy more back.
It's gonna be great at Burger Park. People walk right across the street from their house and.
Yep.
According to our vendor, she said that we should be getting those boxes here in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So once we get those, we're gonna get the stuff ready, and it's easy installation, we install the other ones in house. We already have the room there, we'll put those together.
Well,
And think about, Hector, for that is a box for the bags.
yeah.
Yeah, we have one at the city bar, so we're gonna get one of those, yeah.
So far, the folks have been really good about not taking the bags, leaving them there, so.
I'm surprised. I gotta walk over there, I'm like, those are still there.
The neighbors are like, don't you hear too?
Right.
Well, the box, they're luckily they're not gonna take, one of them weighs 500 pounds.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah, that's the reason why we want the concrete.
There you go.
What are you gonna put on that base?
Well, we were thinking about doing road base to compact it and either mulch, depending on what the neighborhood wants to see there, either mulch or decomposed. Yeah. But we need to have a base first there, especially there, it's so soft. Yeah, maybe base and compact it.
I'm sure you'll make it nice.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
I can't wait to get out there. I know, every time I go to the park, if it's not like, if it's not.
It's
people
good.
are quiet.
There's so much rain. It's just gonna be great.
You gotta have all kinds of different bags now, you gotta have the ones that slide.
Yeah.
The ones
Right.
that.
The weather-
The ones that don't slide.
The Olympic quality. right?
Yeah, when we had that tournament, there's a guy, the guy that I talked to said that he spent $300 in his bag.
Oh,
It's a bag full of sand.
It's-
Yeah,
it
yes,
is.
that's, yeah.
Just so you can feel the difference, you know?
It's like pickleball rackets, I mean, there's some nice ones out there, you know what I mean?
Art
Crazy.
program.
Oh,
It's coming to council next week.
All right. So,
I have about 5 or 6 questions. I need your direction. I don't have a reso because I need to just clarify the remaining questions
Okay.
and then, I'll bring it back the following one with the changes you guys want and on consent or we can talk about it again or.
why don't we leave it as a standing item, because I think we kind of got the introductory portion of it done, and we'll probably have to update it as time goes on.
It really focuses on the utility boxes and murals. I mean, we can expand on this, but right now I think it covers our bases to address the immediate wants of the community.
Mhm.
So again, there's about 5 different questions. Do you want the planning commissioner to do it? Do you want to take them once a year? But I'll get into all that when it's a council meeting. You
Yeah,
guys
that
can-
sounds good.
Maybe, Madam Chair, maybe for, Vice Mayor's benefit, what we're talking about here is, it's kind of two components. One is, the utility, painting of utility boxes. And there's both, city owned and then there's, the PG&E, the big green box. And ours, the program that I think Kevin's developed so far is more, based on our utility boxes.
Is
We have-
PG&E opposed to,
That's a good point. I
you
could
know,
reach
I
out
haven't
to
talked to
that.
anybody, yeah, I haven't talked to anybody from PG&E on that. And
Yeah,
I've
we-
seen it in other towns where all
Well, maybe
PG&E
they'll
wants.
do it. So.
Yeah, you never know.
Right, and so that's one element, and then the other element is, there's interest in murals. And, the program that Kevin would be very for is to, a process for murals. And, I think kind of what we're looking at is that it would be temporary, time and place for a certain period of time, and then they could be moved.
Yeah, what it's saying is, I can't remember if it said just on public buildings or private, but that they'd be on panels. So that
Oh, gotcha.
they can take them and move them and put them on a different building. But there's a lot of questions I'm gonna be asking you guys on next Wednesday and it'll be your opportunity to chime in. You can read through the thing and, formulate any other questions.
One thing real quick, and it doesn't have to do with it, well, kind of does, but I know there's been a lot of interest too on, everybody loved having the lights up out here for Christmas when they drive down here. And a lot of interest in, hey, why don't we do that all year long? Doesn't have to be the right white ones, but have some type of lights on the poles to enhance Friday Night Live and yada, yada, yada. Everybody really liked those lights up when you drive down and they're all working. It's awesome to come down now, you know what I mean? So that was yeah, just, and nothing crazy expensive. I don't know, nobody said color or anything like that, but it was cool when those were up for Christmas. It really makes downtown look good, so might bring more folks in for Friday Night Live and all that too. And
Yeah.
charming.
Well, maybe,
You know what I mean?
we could put that under future agenda items and, whether it's here or Public Works.
Right.
Usually
Absolutely.
Public Works does the.
Yeah, we can do that.
The light install, and then, we'd want to research because what we put up, on the poles is more of your standard off the shelf Christmas.
I know.
Lights, and we may want to look at a little nicer, commercial product.
Right.
I know, for example, Healdsburg has been working on lighting the bridge.
Mhm.
And so they did some research into different lights. And so there's some different, things you can do. You could, with LEDs, the color schemes, there's all kinds of,
Oh, yeah.
opportunities there. So that'd be something we want to do, just put a little research in, cost, and we can bring that forward. But maybe it's a future agenda item, Public Works, or just.
I know Farmers Market really commented that they loved the market lights that were in the plaza that were left over.
Yeah.
And then that was really beneficial and just made it more warm and welcoming.
Yeah, those been taken
That's
down
it right
yet?
there.
Because I had those to stay up.
Not sure.
I can't remember if they're up or not. I haven't been outside in a while.
Yeah, because I had asked to keep them up.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
But they
they.
commented just how well.
Supposed to get started at 4:30.
Yeah.
Right,
Exactly.
right. Yeah, and
Exactly.
those were just, those were they're a little nicer than just your standard LED. But I like them too. It added, that's like, to me, it's a kind of the aesthetic part of it, but also a public safety part of it.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of brings some light.
Oh, yeah. Look at the parks. Pretty cool.
So that's let's see, that's the art program. Yeah, I think it would be great to do a little bit of research and find out if there was some interest in doing, making downtown a little bit more inviting. And work with our mural and our utility box program, yeah. Right, well, exactly, we'll just leave it on for now.
Yeah, we could change the name to something different, downtown.
I'll leave it to you.
Beautification.
I'll leave it to you.
Beautification.
Beautification. Next item was just great Redwood Trail. I don't have much of an update. We had a special meeting, about I think 2 weeks ago, and we're pretty much close to approving the master plan, which the master plan is the plan to create. The master plan is really what the master plan is. And it was kind of the initial push to do who should we be talking to and reaching out to in all of the areas. And so that's there's been a tremendous amount of public outreach through the consultants and the 2 planners who were on staff. Multiple public meetings in person, in, small places like Hopland, large places like Eureka. There have been opportunities to join in on Zoom meetings, and that's just the part of the outreach to find out, what are your topics of interest and who should we be including and talking to. So once that master plan is completed, we're looking at like spring or early summer for that part to be completed, and then the bigger work will be undertaken. So
What are some of the big obstacles for that? Is there?
I
It's all public, right?
we own the right of way. It's the NCRA right of way. I mean, that's why, Smart owns Larkspur through our tunnel to the Mendocino border.
Yeah.
So they own that part of the train track. So that's why it's important that Cloverdale stays part of the conversation with both Smart and Great Redwood Trail, because we're kind of we have a really great opportunity, or we're kind of in an awkward spot because we're in the transitional spot.
Yeah.
At Mendocino border, that's where Great Redwood Trail has exclusive authority, and we own the track all the way to Humboldt Bay. And so, but there are a couple of spots that are actually between the border of Sonoma and Mendocino to Hopland that have to be have to be completed. They have to be studied and have to be completed. And so that's kind of that's going to be the last final piece. But for the most part, I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of exclusive ownership of Great Redwood Trail. And because we have so much going on with our parks and with Asti Road and with the Smart Station, there's just this huge intersection of interest. We have our cemetery, we have First Street, we have, the First Street Bridge. We have to stay, in the conversation in multiple locations and multiple jurisdictions to make sure that, we take advantage of all of those opportunities that.
Does the railroad line have to be kept intact, or will there be sections where?
It'll be sections where the NCRA, former NCRA, now Great River Trail is, we can't pave over. Yeah, we don't have to reserve it. But obviously Smart, that's not the case. Smart's reserving it for rail and then an adjacent trail. So that will be kind of the big difference between at least to the end user, eventually decades from now, and maybe your kids are using it. Because that's going to be the main change that they're probably going to see in Cloverdale. Is it going from a more urban rail and trail orientation to really being, pretty wild, pretty natural. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity. So, but nothing new on that. As soon as that gets completely squared away, I will update you. Anything on a regulation size pool? I think that since we're having so many conversations about recreation, I'd like to kind of keep this on.
I got a little update on that.
You got some information?
Not on
Go.
the regulation book, but I did get an email from Johannes, saying that the cover was installed.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah, I forgot this forward to you. That was,
There's so much interest in having it year round.
so they had a cover on it. We helped unload it. We helped pay for some of it.
Mhm.
So anyways,
Great.
forgot to forward it.
Be great. It's a great resource as it is now, but it would be a great resource for the kids in this town to actually have a regulation sized pool where they could have swim meets and
Yeah.
water polo and all those good things. So we'll just kind of keep it in dreamland, unfortunately. Any future agenda items? I don't have any right now. Okay, and if that's all we have, we'll adjourn to the next meeting, which will be April 16th. Thank you,
Thank
and
you.
staff, for all your hard work. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
2:59.